Well, first it was the FBI. Now it's the CIA that's facing a major shakeup. America's spies agency is being offered sweeping buyout. That means every CIA staffer can quit in exchange for about 8 months' pay. The move is meant to weed out those who don't support the MAGA agenda. And the buyouts are meant to support the agency's new goals of targeting drug cartels and undermining China. Meanwhile, over at the J. Edgar Hoover building, it's even more tense. The FBI today complied with a DOJ demand to give information on thousands of agents who worked January 6th cases. We're talking about ID numbers and job titles, not names. Several FBI agents even filed a lawsuit accusing the DOJ of conducting a loyalty purge. The acting director of the FBI, Brian Driscoll, has tried to stand in the way, defending the rank and file and becoming somewhat of a G-man folk hero along the way, with AI memes like this one, celebrating him for pushing back on the agency's purge. But soon, Driscoll will have to face his new boss, the newly confirmed Attorney General Pam Bondi, who begins her first full day tomorrow. Lots to get to on all of this tonight with National Security Attorney Mark Zaid and former top counterterrorism executive at the FBI, Christopher O'Leary, who's currently a senior VP for global operations at the Sufin Group. Thank you both for being here. Chris, let me begin with you. I want to know what your reaction is to now CIA employees, all of them really, being offered buyouts. Combine that with the FBI news, everyone's wondering, is this going to put Americans in danger?
Well, Laura, simple answer is yes. The combination between the FBI and the CIA, those are two of our primary agencies responsible for our national security, whether it's counterterrorism, great power competition, you name it, from head to toe. Those two organizations are what protect America along with the Department of Defense. Eroding the workforce or really getting after the morale and really empowerment of the workforce is going to have a direct impact on national security at every level. It will also have, from the FBI standpoint, a real impact on fighting crime on the streets, which is what this administration says they want to do. But FBI agents and leadership, they run those violent crime task forces around the country with state and local partners. They run the transnational organized crime task forces around the world. So really reducing their ability to do all of this is going to have a measurable effect on the crime in the United States and in the region.
I mean, I can't imagine having that level of turnover in an instant at this moment in time, Mark. And the big question is, suppose all these employees say, no thanks, I don't want your buyout. Does the DOJ have the legal authority to then remove these agents, remove these analysts?
Well, that's a good question. Look, the FBI has a lot of civil service protections in the normal world. I've represented FBI personnel for almost 30 years or so, maybe more now, I guess, and all the agencies. And I mean, even at the agencies where the director could actually legally remove someone without any due process, and that does exist at a number of the agencies in statute, in regulations, they don't do it. I've had one case in 30 years, and I've never come across another, because all the agencies have always believed in due process. Now, sure, when Robert Hansen got arrested by the FBI for spying for Soviet Union Russia, he didn't get due process. There's a national security exception to fire employees for something of that nature. But for working on an assigned criminal matter that was prosecuted across the United States for attacking the Capitol, and yet somehow you get fired for that with no due process. I mean, even if you just get fired for that with due process, that's just not the system we're used to, nor should we tolerate.
Well, Mark, I mean, you went from hearing about one to you may have scores, frankly, of members of these organizations who are looking for representation. You represent a number of the FBI agents already. What are they telling you about how they are feeling about the prospect of not only our security, but how vulnerable they are to being let go?
Well, I can say not just from the FBI, since obviously those buyout offers have gone to many agencies. They are demoralized. These are individuals who, for example, the lawsuit we filed today against the FBI, I think the shortest term was like 8 years of service. A couple were over 20, almost a quarter of a century. At all of the agencies, when they woke up to get an email from OPM that was, if you read it, just insulting, was basically saying, look, we don't really need you any longer. If you want to take the buyout, good riddance. And these are really dedicated public servants who are not partisan. I have no idea how they voted Republican, Democrat. They don't care either. And it is, I don't know how the government's going to function. I mean, I think that's the bottom line in these agencies. And the amount of experience that we are about to use and the extent to which that will harm American national and domestic security, you can't even actually articulate the degree. I mean, forget about whether or not your tax returns are going to be filed or processed properly, or you just name any type of institutional, your social security checks. You know how slow things go in the government in a normal time? You can imagine when there's, 10%, 20%, 30% less workforce.
Chris, I mean, just hearing that, it makes my head keeps shaking, looking to think about how this could be viewed internationally, how people would be able to share information with us, the trust in the absence, frankly, a dearth at that point of institutional knowledge, and cases that are ongoing that have nothing to do with January 6th whatsoever. You got the acting FBI director, Chris, Brian Driscoll. He has become something of a kind of hero for the FBI's rank and file. And in fact, he initially refused to give the names of the agents to the DOJ. And then he released this video today. Watch.
We will never take our eyes off of our mission, protecting the American people and upholding the Constitution. Because at the Bureau, we're focused on the work. And people we do the work with, our partners, and the people we do the work for, the American people.
You actually worked with him. How do you think he's handling what, frankly, is an unfathomable position?
So Brian is the best of us in the FBI. He's a humble professional who made an incredible reputation based on his work and his courage and his bravery and his humility. And that's all being demonstrated in front of all of us right now. Along with Rob Kassane, the acting deputy director, they both have incredible operational experience. Nobody's ever heard of them before. They have not really spent much time in headquarters because they have been in the field protecting this country. Brian is doing what he would have done on any Friday when he stood up last Friday. He's being a leader. He is, carrying out justice with integrity and strength and courage, and that's what we should expect in our leaders. And he is focused on two things: the mission of the FBI and the welfare of his people, and that's what you should have in a leader, and that's what he is really demonstrating to the entire country. And he has a huge following in the FBI workforce who feel really persecuted right now, and the country will suffer unless we change this dynamic.
Mark Zaid, Christopher O'Leary, thank you both.